Once a year, Christmas comes around and you either feel really nostalgic and have a decent Christmas, or you feel out of touch and you feel like it's an every other day type of deal. Recently, this Christmas, I had a mix of both, which is interesting. My parents have, in the past, done Christmas vacations. And this Christmas vacation, we decided to do a Verbo retreat. If you don't know what Verbo is, it's basically an Airbnb, but a little bit sketchier from my understanding. This was our first time doing Verbo, and I didn't know we were going somewhere until, you guessed it, Christmas Day. So that was an interesting experience. Now, I live in Ohio, and we got a Verbo in Columbus. Now, our house was maybe 15 minutes outside of the city. So we were in Columbus, but we were 15 minutes outside of it. And the pictures from what my parents showed me, they look decent. I'll give them credit. The house looked nice and clean. They didn't really show the neighborhood, but it was interesting. It had a surfboard vibe to it. It had a fish attached, multiple fishes about this big attached to the walls. And it had a little bit of a quirky vibe to the house. So I could see why, it was on Verbo. And don't get me wrong, it was kind of clean. The lighting was good in the pictures. It looked great. What it didn't show was the neighborhood around it. Unlike, I don't know if you've ever used these apps before, but they don't give you the address of the homes that you rent, obviously for privacy reasons. So when we were driving around, it was an hour, 40-minute drive. We're driving to our, Verbo house, and we start noticing, once we're 10 minutes away, that we're driving through a really sketchy neighborhood. Now, I have no idea how much my parents paid for the house. It's not like we're not well off. We're doing great. I'm very grateful to be blessed with a very, blessed family. So it's not like, we were going cheap here. But we noticed while we were driving to our destination that the neighborhood was getting pretty sketchy. And everybody's been through driving through a sketchy neighborhood. It gets really sketchy really fast. Once we arrived to our destination, we realized that we were still in this sketchy area. Now, we brought our dog with us, so we had to obviously, make exceptions with the house that we choose. We had to make sure it was friendly to pets. So that definitely limited, the places we could go to. So maybe that's why, that was one of the few options available. I don't know, I didn't book it. Anyways, we arrive and, it's not the worst place you could be. We were only gonna sleep there for the night. We weren't really gonna stay at the house. But anyways, we get in, and the first thing we notice is that once we stepped through the door, it felt like the floor was sinking. And I don't know if you guys have this, but if you don't have hardwood floors, whatever type of material it was made out of was squishing down. It didn't squeak, it squished, which was weird because it was a wood floor. But yeah, so we get in and I go upstairs immediately because the stairs are right in front of the door to find my bed. And I get to the bed and I see towels on the bed, which was a little bit confusing, but I guess, it's just a comedy, the guests or the hosts are just trying to, make sure that we know where our towels are. And, thankfully I brought a pillow. I get my suitcase, set it down on the floor, and then I notice a stain on my bed. And immediately I was like, okay, what's the stain? Am I gonna sleep in this bed with a stain on it? Do I know what caused the stain? Because it could be anything. It could be anything. I decided to, maybe find another sleeping solution. So thankfully they had a couch downstairs. Everybody gets in, everybody else's beds are fine. No one else is complaining. I have my bed, sweet. It's Christmas, by the way. So, everything's just going around, everybody's in a jolly mood. And then it's we're settling in, I'm gonna put on a movie. It takes me 30 minutes to figure out the TV because the Wi-Fi wasn't fully plugged in. They had an Ethernet cord, and it wasn't plugged in. So I spent 30 minutes trying to do that. And then, you know, obviously, like, you know, my parents are like trying to console me and my siblings, and they're like, hey guys, we're gonna go to a gas station, get some food. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So they leave to go to the gas station to get some, you know, some food, some snacks. We had Chick-fil-A already, so we were pretty full. So they leave and get snacks. Me and my sibling are just, you know, hanging out, watching a Harry Potter movie, everything's fine. And it's, you know, it's seeming like it's gonna be a good time, right? Nothing crazy is going on. Parents come back, we're watching the movie, we're all chilling, and then they're like, yeah, we're definitely only gonna spend a night here. The gas station was sketchy. And you know, I can understand why it's sketchy. We're in Columbus, right? And a not so nice part of town. And I can tell that my parents, you know, were feeling kind of, you know, sad about the whole situation. And you know, it happens. So I'm not gonna be sad, you know, I'm just gonna make the most of what I got. And the next day they had planned for us to go to a play. And my mom was super excited about the play, and we were gonna go to this Cosi museum beforehand. It was gonna be a fun packed day. So I was like, we'll make the most of tonight, and then we'll just, you know, take on tomorrow and come back home. So, you know, we play games, and you know, the night was a slow night. We get into bed. I try and sleep on the couch, didn't get a lot of sleep, ended up just taking the sheets off the bed upstairs and made do with made do, you know. I didn't shower the entire time because the shower was like literally like a vault. There was like 7 knobs, and I couldn't figure out it was gonna be a night. I'll shower when I get back. I wake up the next morning at 8 a.m. and I'm like, okay, it's time to get ready, let's go. So I immediately pack all my stuff in my suitcase because we're gonna be leaving after the whole like play in the museum. So it's the day after Christmas, and I just couldn't help but notice like, hey, I'm not feeling very Christmassy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because, you know, we're in Columbus, or, you know, like I feel like I'm on edge. I don't know, I'm very on edge. So we leave to go to Cosi, and it's early in the morning. And you know, I'm just like trying to have my hood up, have my AirPods in. It's like just trying to get through the morning. So eventually we go to the Cosi Museum, and again, just powering through it. Boom, 3 hours gone, bang. Time for the play. Now, I don't like plays. And the reason why I don't like plays in general, and especially musical plays, is because I find them sort of cringy. If you like plays, not trying to diss you guys or not trying to like offend anybody, it feels too fake for me. I don't know what it is, and it's too unrealistic. I'm always like trying to place myself in the character's shoes, but they're always like trying to be too animated, and it's not realistic. So it's different for me. We go into the play, and immediately, you know, there's a line. So we get down, and you know, we're finding our seats. The theater that we're in, the auditorium, the seats maybe have about a foot of room between you and the chair in front of you. So I'm a 6'1" guy, I'm pretty tall and lengthy, and my knees are just getting absolutely smushed together while I'm trying to sit down. It's a 30-minute wait before the show actually starts. So I'm sitting there debating if I should just go for a walk beforehand. I'm sitting there, and you know, there's this row of strangers around me. Our family was split up, so I had a row of strangers sitting around me. Thankfully, one of my siblings was sitting next to me, so it was fine. I had like one of the seats on the very edge. The play was about, you know, the Wizard of Oz, except it had this Afro style, you know, to it. Nothing wrong with that. That was fine, you know, that was great. But then I learned that it was a musical play. So that means I would be listening to people singing and doing the Wizard of Oz, which is honestly interesting. I'm trying to put this politely. It's not my cup of tea. I'd rather watch a 2-hour movie, like a documentary, instead of watching a play. You know, because at least I'm like kind of learning it. You know, I've seen the Wizard of Oz a couple of times, man. I know what's going on. Dude, man, it was just a weird Christmas. Like, I don't know else how to put it. Very thankful for the trip. Glad I went to Columbus. But I mean, it's good to note that, like, you know, just because it doesn't feel like Christmas doesn't mean like the meaning of it should be taken away. We're celebrating, you know, Jesus' birth, which is ultimately why Christmas is a thing. So I don't know, it just didn't really feel like Christmas this year, which is odd because it kind of did. It started off like Christmas, and you know, we opened up presents and stuff, and yet, I don't know, I just felt like a little off. It's weird that happens. If you want to see some real videos, today, 1 o'clock p.m. sharp on my main channel, I spent 30 days trying to wake up early. If you know me, I don't wake up until 11 o'clock. I tried waking up at 5 o'clock for 30 days straight. Check it out, subscribe to the main channel. If you end up seeing this video, keep it secret because, you know, that's the whole point of this hidden channel, so I can just talk without any of my friends or relatives knowing that I do this. Anyways, I'm gonna put this out there. See you guys.